Hello, friends, and welcome to the Exam Room with Nurse Alice, the show where we take a closer look at things going on in the world today. So I hope everyone's enjoying their holiday weekend, long Labor Day weekend. Hopefully you're spending it safely at home with family and friends and enjoying yourself. But we wanted to make sure that we don't miss a beat in the conversation, guys. So yes, we're here. We're talking about how to stay healthy while remotely working at home, while the kids are remotely learning from school. And I have some wonderful experts that are going to join the conversation with me. But just real quickly, before we get started, I want to send a shout out to blackdoctor.org. Thank you so much to them for allowing me to come into your homes every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're great, and they also have a great website with tons of information. Make sure to follow them on Facebook, Instagram, check out their website, tons of great articles, and sign up for their newsletter. And then I'll also want to thank some of our other sponsors. Nurse Approved, when you're looking for quality health and safety products, make sure it's Nurse Approved. So this is a travel kit. There are first aid kits, masks, and other goodies. So please make sure to visit I Am Nurse Approved. If you mention back to school as a coupon code, there's 20% off discount. And then also want to shout out Cue the Culture. Guys, this is the newest, the latest and greatest digital magazine. There are hard copies. Make sure you go to the website, Cue the Culture. Lots of great reads out here, and you don't want to miss a beat. Stay in the know. All right, so let's get into the conversation. We must do this. Okay, so joining me for this wonderful conversation today, I have two great and amazing experts. The first person I want to introduce is Dr. Stacy Cary-Thompson, she also goes by Dr. Stacy. She is a board-certified pediatrician, child advocate, and child expert who has been recognized for her commitment to demonstrating compassion in medicine and for being a role model of the human connection in healthcare. She is also the CEO of Cary Cares Parenting, a custom parent coaching program. Welcome, Dr. Stacy.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you for spending your Monday with us. And then also joining the conversation, a world-class expert in natural medicine, Dr. Samm Pryce. She is a licensed concierge naturopathic physician. She is sought after for her knowledge and mastery of blood type science and blood type diet and how this integrates into the field of epigenetics, which is the study of your genes, and nutrigenomics, the scientific study of the interaction of nutrition and genes. Wow, say that a few times. Dr. Samm is also 3-time #1 best-selling author, international speaker, supplement formulator, sleep medicine expert, wellness retreat producer, wife and mom, and she's also the chief medical officer for Balanced Integration, PLLC, where she bridges alternative and conventional medicine using the best of science and empirical evidence to transform illness into wellness. Now look, y'all. Welcome, Dr. Pryce.
Thank you, Nurse Alice. Hey, Dr. Stacy. Hi, everybody.
Yes, so I'm so excited to bring these ladies into the conversation. And as I just mentioned, that was just a snippet of who they are, and they are going to bring it for this conversation. Now, ladies, I just want to know. So we have, because of this world pandemic, which has been, I don't know how many months we're into this, right? I think the whole year 2020, from 2020, we're going to need a redo next year. Let's just say that. But we have people who are working remotely at home. We have people who are having to, be on the front lines. We have kids who are now at home, distance learning. Everyone's displaced. We're all trying to find out where we fit in, how we do things. And some of what I really was hoping that we could talk about today is how can we stay healthy while at home, while we are displaced and kind of find this new normal. So Dr. Stacy, I just want to go ahead and start with you as our pediatrician. And I'll say this because I'm a mom and my kids are definitely distance learning. It has been a challenge.
Mine too.
Mine too.
Getting them on this, first off for me, because now in addition to my normal, nursing life and those type of things, I'm also having to make sure that I'm the teacher, the counselor, the lunch lady, even more a janitor.
I know principal. The
and
principal.
the principal. You're right, Dr. Samm. And so it's been a challenge helping them to find a schedule. And I can't help but feel that kids being displaced like that throws off their system, like throws off their health in some type of way, just being disorganized. Would I be correct by assuming that? Or what happens when kids are thrown off a schedule?
So it can throw off their system. But one of the things that I would definitely recommend is keeping a routine. As much as possible, you want to keep a routine. So you want to wake up around the same time every day. You want to have breakfast around the same time, get dressed, go through all of those normal things that you would do if you were actually leaving the house. And then most likely school is going to start around the same time every day. So you'll have some structure there. But I think that it's still important to maintain structure as much as possible. So you also want to set a schedule. I think it's a great idea to incorporate the kids in creating their schedule, post it somewhere visible. And the schedule should include not just the learning time, but also your telework. If you're a parent that's working from home, you want to incorporate exercise, you want to incorporate breaks, you want to do all of those things and try to stick to it as much as possible. And I think that that'll help to maintain some normalcy.
Okay, that's good to know. So, because right now I feel like everybody's abnormal. We're all kind of in this but we're getting better. We're totally getting better because like when all this in March, we were just like thrown for a season. We were just like, let's hopefully just ride the wave out and thinking that everything would be better and that in the fall we would resume normal schooling, and it's not.
We have a new normal.
I can't help but wonder because we're still in this adjustment phase. Great, you said put them on a schedule and all those things.
Yes.
Now I will say this: it's hard for me to put the kids on a schedule, let alone the kids on a schedule, because they have, and maybe I need to do this, like bell alarms and stuff like that would go, ring at certain hours to remind you to be at the next place. But I feel like it's an added layer of stress. And Dr. Samm, so you chime in here, whether it's kid stress or adult stress period. How does this like affect my health? I mean, one, my mental health, and then two, like my immune system, because every time I feel stressed, I feel like I'm always about to catch a cold.
Absolutely. And you are correct, because as we are more and more stressed, as you're stressed, your immune system depletes, right? So it's really important right now. Not only are we stressed because of this whole pandemic situation, we're also in an election cycle. It doesn't matter what political affiliation you are, you're constantly bombarded with the news of different things as well. So this whole season is a high stress season, period. Pandemic or no pandemic. Election cycle is also start of cold and flu season, actually. So we want to be mindful of that fact and go ahead and do prevention. Prevention looks like, I always talk about hydration, right? So hydration. I can't stress this enough, but specifically as we're talking about the pandemic and we know how that affects your lungs, the coronavirus affects your lungs. When you're hydrating enough, and hydrating enough looks like this, you're drinking half your body weight in ounces of your body weight, right, per day. So if you weigh 140 pounds, that means you're drinking 70 ounces of water that day, right? So that is actually going to thin the layer of the lungs to allow the oxygen and carbon dioxide to exchange more easy, right? So hydration is really important. Also, as we're sitting more, you might notice that your joints are starting to hurt more because we're not getting out and we're not exercising, and it's starting to get winter. And I live in Michigan, and our outdoor activities kind of cease in the winter time because it's freezing here and we get snow and stuff like that. So hydration actually also helps to lubricate your joints and your muscles. And so that's why hydration is really important. And of course, we can always talk about sleep and how I feel about sleep, but specifically for your kids and also you need to be on a bedtime routine too, because if you're not getting those proper hours of sleep, you're going to be cranky and then you're going to yell at the kids, and that's not good for anybody, right? So it also depletes your immune system when you're not getting the proper amount of sleep. And in Chinese medicine, we always say that the hours are between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. You need to get those 4 hours to build up your natural melatonin, the master hormone of the immune system.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, Okay, hydration. Yes, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dr. Stacy, it's hard for me to sometimes to get my kids to drink plain water. They like, and listen, yes, I do have fruit punch and stuff in my house, but don't worry, they're not just drinking all of those sweet things. But yeah, trying to get them to drink more water. They'll drink water, but it's like I have to remind them. Okay, kid, it's time to drink more water. Like, is there something that I could do to a suggestion or something, or incorporate in the schedule, an incentive system to get my kids to drink more water and to snack healthier? Because I think that sometimes they're not really hungry; they're just home, and so they're like, "Let me eat." And I'm worried also. Although my boys are very slim, that childhood obesity is definitely a thing in the United States. So, what say you as far as hydration and healthy snacks and eating for these kiddos?
So I think that some of that goes in line with creating a schedule, right? So ideally, you would have breakfast in the morning before the classes start. And that should include some water in addition to something nice and healthy. I would suggest a meal with some fiber just to keep them full longer so that they're not distracted and getting hungry before their next break. But also, I think it's great to, on break times, to drink some more water. Like if you're not actively participating in an online session, then drink some water. Go to the bathroom, move around, stretch a little bit. So I think that every time that they're not actually with their teacher, that's a good time for them to drink some water.
Okay, so we should definitely build it into the schedule. That like glass of water.
Yes.
Healthy snack, glass of water, those type of things. Okay.
And then you can also bribe them too. I won't give my child another glass of juice. Like, so we cut the juice. So it's half water, half juice. Well, actually, he gets a third of the juice and 2/3 water, but he can't have that until he finishes a full glass of water.
There you go. And we should, incentivize, we want to incentivize them to eat healthy and be healthy. So, but I also think that, incorporating it in their schedule is definitely important, because I think that kids need structure. They need clear-cut goals and objectives. Otherwise, they're just kind of like all over the place, because not all kids, not many kids are very proactive and very structured on their own. I wish mine were more like that. But so having this built in their schedule is helpful. Now, with the snacking, okay, let's dig a little bit deeper into the snacking, because I feel like I've done more grocery shopping, more frequently since they've been home. Is it just me? Is it I'm the only one?
And I saw he's eating me out of house and home. I'm like, what happened? What happened?
Yes. David Woods is joining the chat box, and he says, when I do that, I can't suggest my son to do not wait. What did he say? Okay, I'm grown and all I want is these almond windmill cookies and ice cream. David, I mean, we can have some cookies and ice cream, but just not all the time. We got to incorporate and mix some things in. Yes. Yes. And Deborah Gilder, she said, add fruit to the water, like lemon, orange, pineapple. That's a good suggestion. Really good suggestion. And when you're done, eat the fruit.
Yeah.
Because I need you to get healthy things in. But back to my story.
Lemon in the water is actually really good because it alkalinizes the body. And when you're in an alkalinized environment, so viruses, bacteria, pathogens can't live in an alkalinized environment. And when you're eating your fruits and your vegetables, you're alkalinizing the system. So adding some lemon to your water is a great idea, Deborah.
Okay, very good. So part of this snacking. So sometimes I feel like they're snacking when they're bored. So what do I need to do? Do I need to lock up my cabinets? I definitely have needed to shift what I buy, because if I don't have it in the house, they won't eat it.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most important things. It's not that we don't want them to get hungry. We just want them to make healthy choices when they're seeking food. So if it's not there for them to eat, then we don't have to worry about them eating Doritos. You know what I mean? Or if we don't want them to drink a lot of juice, then we don't buy the juice. But of course, sometimes we do like to indulge. It's very human. So I think just making sure that you don't buy those types of things in bulk, because you don't get it to look at, right? You get it, you plan to use it. Correct. And the more of it you have, the more of it you'll naturally consume. So I think just making smarter choices when you go to the grocery store, that's a really, really awesome start. And also the other thing, going back to hydration, sometimes when you feel hungry, you're actually thirsty. So I would suggest, you can say to your kids, okay, well, drink a glass of water, and then you can decide what snack you want to have. And so that way, it may allow them to really kind of equilibrate and figure out, okay, no, I'm good with the water, or I still want something to eat.
Yes. And I think that's good that we also, not to say, listen, there's plenty of food here and the kids can eat when they're truly hungry, but I think also adhering to a schedule. Because if you are at work or if you are really at school, you wouldn't be eating this continuously. You don't get to eat in class
all the time.
You shouldn't be eating in class while you're at home. So part of it, though, I have to be honest, is me as a parent, unless I'm like sitting there watching them the whole time, it's hard for me to monitor that type of activity, which adds more stress to my day, which I know I'm a parent, that comes with the territory, but goodness, I feel like my hair is thinning, my edges are like, it's just like a lot going on. And I feel like I need to, I always, when I'm very stressed, I feel like I'm always starting to catch a cold. So what can I do so I'm not feeling that way? Because I don't want to catch a cold.
So we can do a couple of different things. So one is we can do alternate nostril breathing when you're feeling stressed. But when you're so the alternate nostril breathing is you're going to plug up one nostril, inhale slowly for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 4, and exhale for a count of 4. You're going to do it 3 times on that nostril. And then you're going to shake to the other side, inhale for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4. Do that 3 times on that side. That actually balances the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So when you feel like you're ready to yell at the kids for going in the refrigerator for the 9th time, and the fact that I have 5 new gray hairs of a 7-year-old, right? You can try this. Exactly. You can do some alternate nostril breathing. But as far as supporting your immune system and your kids' immune system, elderberry is an awesome way to do that. So elderberry comes in a syrup. It's a wonderful antioxidant, antiviral. The kids actually like the taste of it, and most adults do too. So elderberry is fantastic. Vitamin A, remember when I talked about the lungs and protecting the lungs? Vitamin A is great for decreasing the mucus within the lungs. Vitamin C is normally the naturopathic go-to, and most doctors have it in their cabinet. So if my family sneezes or coughs, they already know if I hear it. You're taking a dose of vitamin C. And for cold and flu season, we take maintenance doses anyway. But the secret with vitamin C is there's something called a bowel tolerance dose. And this is your customized dose. So normally I will have patients have a can or powdered vitamin C, and they will take a scoop of that, 1 dose. Then if they don't have abdominal issues, that's cramping or diarrhea, then they're going to take another dose the next day, a double dose, and you're going to keep increasing the dose by 1 until you have abdominal cramps or diarrhea. That's your bowel tolerance. Then you're going to back down 1 dose. That's your customized dose. So when you are sick and when you're feeling that ill feeling that stress makes you feel, Nurse Alice, you want to increase your vitamin C, maybe even to bowel tolerance, right? That's your customized dose. And I always tell everybody, go to sleep. Go to sleep. Make sure that you're
getting orders. I'm going to sleep. Mama's going to sleep.
Oh, I will prescribe it in a heartbeat. So go to sleep. You need about 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and that allows your body to heal itself. So vitamin C and sleep are my 2 go-tos. Zinc too, but vitamin C and sleep are the go-to.
And these are good things that you ladies are mentioning, and I think that because I don't know where this would be incorporated in their lessons now. Although I think they should have definitely should have a health class now if they didn't have one before with everything going on.
Right.
Talking about these things because kids are stressed too, and they're upset. My son plays football, but they're not playing football now, right? People miss their prom, their graduation, and all these. They miss their friends. So I think talking about our health, immunity, how to manage stress, all these things are good. Maybe classes should start with the.
Yep.
I'm gonna make a suggestion to my son's teacher. But okay, so that's one thing. Now let me switch topics just a little bit. I want to take a turn here. Virtual learning. and we're working from home remotely. So a lot of technology going on, a lot of technology.
Mm-hmm.
So not everyone has an office at their home or office setup, right? Many, kids didn't have computers. Hopefully there's good schools or many schools are being able to provide computers at home. People are having to work at home, but you don't have a place. Either you're sitting at the kitchen table, you're sitting at your bed, you're sitting on the couch. I have some concerns that people are now starting to complain of some back pain or some neck pain, some joint pain. And I think a lot of that has to do with our posture. So Dr. Stacy, I know kids are growing, they seem like they grow overnight, but anything specific, any recommendations you have for kids schooling at home so that they're maintaining good posture? Because they're not always the best with, because they're very nimble and stretchy and stuff like that. They can put themselves in positions for long periods of time that we just can't do it when we're old. But I don't want it to turn into a problem. Don't be a 13-year-old with a hip problem. No, you shouldn't have that. So suggestions.
So yeah, I think that it's good for kids to have a desk if possible, because most furniture is not made for kids' bodies. So if you don't get a desk that's made specifically for your child, then you can certainly make modifications. So for instance, something to keep in mind, and this is for adults as well, but when you're sitting down at the desk or your makeshift desk, we'll say, you want to think 90-degree angles. So you want 90 degrees, like your hips at 90 degrees, your knees at 90 degrees. And so for kids, a lot of times what happens if they're not sitting in the right chair is their feet will dangle. And I am a petite person as well, so I am familiar with this too. So if you don't have a desk that is appropriately sized for your child, you can use stuff around the house. You can use a box or a basket or something just to put underneath their feet so that their knees are at 90 degrees, so their feet aren't dangling. And then you also want them to have an appropriately sized chair as well, because we don't want them to suffer from neck strain or back pain or other joint issues, especially since they're growing. So I think that either you can make modifications to what you have, or you can, get a chair and a table that is more kid friendly. For instance, my son, he's 4, and he has one of those like Fisher Price tables and chairs, and he's rocking and rolling. But the other thing to keep in mind, whether they're sitting at their table or whether they're sitting at the coffee table, to your point, Nurse Alice, kids, they do move around a lot, and so that's okay. I think that as long as the child is still attentive, that's what's most important. So if they decide to stand up, if they're doing a handstand, if they're, on their side or whatever for a brief period, I think that's fine, because it's also important to switch up your position like every 10 to 15 minutes. So I think that in terms of maintaining good posture, protecting your joints, those are some reasonable tips. And then also you want to protect your eyes. Another thing that I think is important to talk about is eye strain, which I think we're all at risk for because we're all using our devices so much.
All of this, a lot of this.
So every 20 minutes, you want to look away for at least 20 seconds. And also you want to keep in mind that when you're looking at the screen, we have a tendency to blink less, but you actually should blink more, because when you blink more, you'll becoming more strained. So those are some things to keep in mind. And then the other thing too, blue light. So
this is good stuff. Tell us about the blue light.
Yeah, so blue light, it gets emitted from a lot of the devices we have. So your TV, your computer, your laptop, your phone, what have you. And the thing about blue light is that's the light that really tends to cause the most strain, because it really, because of the way that it interacts with the retina. So there are some devices where there are certain settings where you can minimize the blue light. So you can certainly do that. Also, there are glasses that have blue light blockers. So if you're a glasses wearer, you can potentially get that incorporated into your lenses. Or even if you don't wear glasses, there are glasses specifically for this. Just blue light glasses. So they don't have another prescription. It doesn't mean that you can't see, the stop sign down the street, but there are glasses that are specifically for blue light. And I think that that's helpful too, because we were talking about immunity and we were talking about melatonin. And so one of the other things that parents oftentimes talk to me about is kids getting so attached to the devices, especially at night. Right? They still want to stay on the device, and then they wind up with sleep problems. And part of the reason for that is because blue light can actually throw off your melatonin levels. And so that's why one of the things that we often recommend, even outside of COVID, is to shut down devices at least an hour before bedtime, because you want your body to have the opportunity to get into some nice rhythms.
Shut it down? You don't mean just turn it over. You can shut it down. Like, I can't hear anything. Like,
ideally, yes.
We are so lock and key, step with our cell phones. So Dr. Stacy, turn it all the way off, is what you're saying?
At least sometimes, yes.
Okay.
And I'll admit, sometimes I don't do the best job of that either. But in addition to trying to follow my own advice, it's important for me to share what I know and let you know that I'm in the struggle too. I get it.
Okay. So guys, this is really good. So 90 sounds like a 90-90 rule for all of your joints when you're sitting in a chair and things. And screen time. Oh, one thing else. How much is too much screen time when it comes to protecting our eyes?
So I think that part of it should be, you should factor age into account. We expect older children to have a longer attention span. So if they sit at the computer for 20 to 30 minutes, I think that that's tolerable. They can look away, sit there for about 50 minutes to an hour. And that's okay as long as they're taking those brief breaks to rest their eyes. But for your younger kids, I think that 20 minutes is a reasonable amount of time before they would need to have, I would say, about a 10-minute break.
Okay. So we definitely need to take breaks when we're looking at our devices, tone down the blue light, and make sure that light's not showing while we're trying to go to sleep at night, because it can influence our ability to sleep. Now, just real quickly, because and I can't recall the name of the condition, but there is a condition that generally happens as we age, and it has something to do with the retina. And my understanding is that if we have this increased exposure to blue light, it can actually cause an early onset of that. I don't know if it's
myopia.
I'm going to find it as we're having the conversation, but it's a retinal condition. What's one of the more common retina conditions that we usually see? I'll look it up. We're going to talk about it. But this is why the blue light is important. It's not just it does damage the retina, but it also can be early onset of these other eye conditions that you generally don't experience until you're a lot older in life. So let's not give our younger kids these chronic conditions at an earlier age.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yes,
and you can turn it down. Like most of our kids have like iPads. There's definitely a setting on there in your display setting that you can make it more warm. It actually looks like an orange tone. You could definitely set it. You can manually set it. So for my child's iPad, we have it set to a certain time. It automatically switches to that mode so that according to his bedtime, an hour to two before his bedtime, it's shutting off the blue light. Mm-hmm. But it's also emitted from your TVs and your laptops as well. So be mindful of that.
Macular degeneration.
Okay. I did not.
We don't want to have, not this would happen overnight or anything, but you can imagine someone, and hopefully we're not in this too long, but if this were to continue for an extended period of time, how because our children, our younger people could develop these conditions that are usually found in our elderly. So in addition to that, and let me just talk about this, and Dr. Samm, you tell me if this also has to do with our immune system. We talked about snacking, maybe when we're bored, we need to be on a schedule and don't just snack just because you're bored, but eating more. Some people might be stress eating, right? Emotional eating at this time, but we already know that childhood obesity is very much a thing now. Couple that with decreasing the ability for our kids to exercise because of access, maybe because of COVID and all of these other things. They're going to gain weight, and then that can then predispose the weight gain, predispose them to diabetes, heart disease, and all of these conditions. So, wow. I mean, what else should we be doing to protect ourselves and our kids too? Because The kids are younger. They got a fighting chance. Those of us who are a little bit older, been in the game a little bit longer, we don't have as much rope. So we gotta make sure we take care of ourselves. But some people might truly be emotionally eating. I know I've had a time or two where I'm emotionally. I'll just call it.
Yeah.
How does that impact my immune system?
So I'm with Dr. Stacy on the fact that you need to stop before you start eating. It's easier said than done, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm there. Okay. So I am at home homeschooling now. For real. So between the hours of 9 and 11 is devoted to him, and then patience after that. So I see myself like I'm watching him and I'm like, oh, I'll go to the refrigerator and eat this because I want to answer the question for him. And he's not answering it quick enough because I can hear the class work going on. So I've had to remove myself from situations where it is frustrating to me. Right. So any kind of frustration or stress, if you're predisposed to that, and I happen to be, where I definitely am an emotional eater, have to remove myself from the situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I can see that. Let's see what else. I want to go back a little bit to some of this weight gain. We're at home. We might be emotionally eating. We might be eating because we're bored, or it could be a result of we're just not exercising enough. And I was doing some research, and it said kids, they're at school, they're walking to class. Like even if they're not walking very far, they're still walking to class. They're moving around. Kids sometimes just move from the bedroom to the living room, and from the living room to the kitchen, and then it's back into the bedroom. I mean, that's the extent of where they're going. The weight gain. When would I be concerned? Let me ask this. If I get, because I've heard of quarantine 15, and I don't know if that's really a thing with adults, like gaining 15 pounds, but should kids be gaining weight right now? But what kind of guidelines as to little Johnny's gained too much weight, or little Johnny's doing this, that would clue me into like, oh my gosh, red flags, intervention needed? What would those guidelines be, Dr. Stacy, for my kids?
So that's somewhat of a multifaceted answer.
Okay.
Because for most kids, we expect them to grow. Unless they are late in adolescence, we're still expecting to see those types of changes.
Grow this way, though.
Yes, or most likely be this way as well as this way, and not just this way.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, and sometimes it can be hard for us to notice because we're looking at our kids every day, so we might not notice it. But if you video chat with grandma and you haven't done it for 4 weeks, she might be more apt to notice, right? So, of course, taking those cues from other people, if you happen to kind of miss out on some of those more subtle changes. But also, I think that it's still important as much as possible to maintain your preventative care. So that means still going for your checkup visits with the pediatrician. And that will include height and weight measurements. And they can look at your growth chart. They can compare that to where you've been in the past. They have those trends, so we can see where you fall today, as well as where you've fallen in the past, and make comparisons. And I think that, your pediatrician is still a good resource for you to kind of help you if you find yourself growing, or your child rather, growing more this way than this way.
Okay, got it. So I think that's very important, guys. You heard Dr. C said, make sure that the kids are still going for their annual wellness appointment, because this is the thing.
Yes.
I know with COVID-19, we said, just essential visits, don't leave the house for anything unless it's emergency. Well, we're beyond the tipping point now. We need to make sure that we don't get behind in our wellness. Okay, we have to maintain our wellness so we can fight off any infection or illness or things like that, and hopefully not allow early onset of some of these chronic medical conditions like obesity, which would lead to diabetes, heart disease, all of these things. And so we know that obesity seems to be related to every single thing. It seems to be, right? So height and weight measurements, that's going to be key. If I can just go ahead and tack on there, because based on what you ladies were saying, with the physical activity, I'm thinking that I need to make sure that I include a PE class. Maybe it's not in the transcript, but I'm going to incorporate and I'm supposed to go with.
Yes, perfect. So yeah, one of the things that I also wanted to talk about is I think kids should still have recess essentially. Or, if you're
Oh, I love
an older
recess.
child and they don't still have recess, yes, they should still do PE. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's really important for kids to still have unstructured time. They still need time to be kids. They need space to just run around and do whatever it is they do without the expectation of having to sit still on one spot. It's important for them to move around. And so I think that it should definitely be incorporated into your schedule. And if you're a parent that's also working from home, like you said, yeah, you can have PE class with them.
We all need to do it at those stretches.
Right. I mean, and it doesn't necessarily have to be something super difficult or anything like that, but maybe you could go for a walk around the block and you're getting exercise, but also family time as well. You can bond.
Yeah.
For my son, for instance, he's just content running around the yard, which I'm thankful for because I've been thinking about something to purchase to put in the backyard to maintain his interest a little bit more. So if you guys have tips, feel free to put those in the comments. Haven't quite figured that out yet, but I think that it's important to just let kids be free. Step outside, stop looking at the same four walls, get some fresh air, get some sunlight, and that's important for kids as well as adults. And I think that another thing to keep in mind is that now more than ever, your kids are watching you.
Oh, yes.
You can teach them a lot about how to care for themselves by how you choose to care for yourself. And so adults, part of you taking care of you and being well is making sure that you get in some physical activity.
Absolutely.
Yes. So
I'm going to piggyback on that. So
go ahead.
in the backyard, we actually created a little obstacle course for my son.
Cool.
And so what we've done is we timed him. And so when he goes out in the backyard, now he's trying to beat his time. It's his PR, right? So he has an older brother, but his older brother's 19. So he's in college. So he's technically, like an only child. So it's all about what's my PR, because I'm not running that obstacle course. Okay.
Oh, come on, Mom.
I'm running the obstacle course, but I showed him how to do it, right? So he's outside running the obstacle course. The other thing that I think is really important is also for us to, I feel so sorry for our kids. I really do. They're missing out on, I think of all the things I did in school and all that kind of in my interactions with my friends. And I think that emotionally is really important for them to still have the bond with their friends.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I did was so that I could bond a little bit more with him was we decided to do piano lessons. Now, of course, they're virtual, but I'm taking piano lessons too. So he sees me taking the piano lesson, he sees me practicing, and then he practices. And it's a bonding between the two of us. So we're trying to be able to play Jingle Bells by Christmas. It's a goal. So what we're doing is we're setting goals for the year. The other thing that, like I was talking about, the emotional component of it is because he's not in school, because he's not around his friends and whatnot, oftentimes I will set up Zoom play dates. And, or even though I absolutely cringe at playing the PS4, it's okay right now for me because he actually gets to hear his friends and he is actually bonding still with his friends, not physically, but he hears them. It's the talking, it's the social interaction that he needs. And we use swim lessons as PE because I felt like swim lessons were safe. There's only 2 kids in the class and you shower immediately after swim class. So it's still physical activity, it's therapy for him. He gets to see another kid or somebody other than me, you know what I mean? So, and my husband. So those things I think are really important for our kids as well.
Oh, good. And you guys, we had some great suggestions here. Michael Pesio said he recommended us having a sandbox, a trampoline, or a swing set outside. Yeah. So, some other activities that you can do. And I'll say this, I've seen a lot of bonding with families I'm not promoting TikTok, not at all, but I see the families doing their little dances and stuff like that. Something fun.
Yeah.
Get moving and things like that. But I'm from the days of hopscotch and double dutch. So I'm just saying, bring it back. Bring double dutch, bring hopscotch back. Yes. Those are the things that we used to, use to. But the best activity is the activity you're going to do. There you have it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Whichever one it is that you're going to do. Now, I wanted to jump into some of these questions. We did have a question earlier, and I believe it's from David. David's been pretty active in the conversation. Thanks, David. I hope you're sharing this with your friends. Everyone on here has created a watch party. But David asked the question, do you think the vaccine for COVID will be beneficial so that we can go back to our normal? Question mark. I'd hate to think that this is our new normal. So what do you guys have for David? Ooh, I think
I know. We all sighed, right?
Right.
So I'll throw my 2 cents in there. So being honest, COVID-19 is a coronavirus, and a coronavirus is a RNA virus, which means that it replicates and it changes just like cold and flu. And what you may not understand is even when we make the cold and flu vaccine, it's different from year to year based upon the strain that we think is going to be that one. So you might hear it reported like 1 year the vaccine worked really well and we contained it. And 1 year it was like, oh, there was this all big breakout of cold and flu, even though people got the vaccine. So optimistic, realistically, I want you to really think about doing all of the preventative strategies that we've told you to do, so that you're not putting yourself and your family at risk for getting coronavirus. We still don't know enough about COVID-19 specifically. It's still a novel virus. While they're learning more about it, while we have supplements that we now know that help to decrease the inflammasome, which incites the cytokine system, the storm, which makes it really, really bad. So stuff like the melatonin that I talked about, and vitamin D and zinc, and all of those different things that you can actually take to help prevent those to prevent cold and flu, period, any kind of coronavirus at this point, right? Vaccines take a really long time to develop.
Yes,
and while they're trying to speed this process up, I want you to understand that it's a long process and we have a long way to go. So when we tell you to do things like hydrate, sleep, put your mask on, wash your hands, stay away from the public places, it's because we don't know enough. And we as healthcare professionals, we're seeing the damage that this virus is doing, and we just want to protect you. So even if the vaccine comes out, you still need to do these protective measures that we keep telling you guys about.
Absolutely. Prevention is key. We don't have an absolute solution or cure. We don't even really have a good treatment plan at all. The best thing we can do is try to prevent it as much as possible.
Right.
So, Dr. Stacy, what do you think about this COVID-19 vaccine in our kiddos?
So first of all, I definitely agree with what Dr. Samm was saying.
Okay.
As far as kids are concerned, again, there's still a lot that we don't know. Now, I think that some people have a false reassurance by the fact that many kids don't tend to get severe illness. But there are still kids that do. And we know that at this point, there are children that have died from this virus. So again, to Dr. Samm's point, I think that whether we have a vaccine or not, we don't want to assume a false sense of reassurance. We don't want to get slack on those preventative measures, because we don't know how it's going to affect us or the next person. And so I think the best thing is to really try to avoid contracting it at all.
And let me just add another layer in there for the kiddos, because as adults, most of us have been fully immunized. And so it's just like, if we need a booster or something comes up at a particular age, and we get those. For kids, there seems like I can't even keep up with the immunization schedule. And then there are actually optional vaccines that they're recommending that aren't required, but they're, and I have boys. So like your boys should get HPV vaccination. And then all of these, and correct me if I'm wrong, but all these different pneumococcal vaccinations and stuff for the kiddos. And I thought that there were some that were required and some that are optional. And I'm just like, my head is spinning when I'm hearing all of these vaccines. But because we know so many thousands of people have died from coronavirus, I think there's this fear. And there's this fear, you want to protect your kids. You want to be a good parent. You want to protect your kids. But I'm worried because, for one, there's already lots of vaccines. And then for 2, and both of you guys can answer, because it generally takes a long process to safely create and study these things. I'm a little concerned about Operation Warp Speed. He can take it.
Me too.
I'm just gonna be honest. And so, okay, let me say this. BlackDoctor.org is an excellent platform. The opinions that the things that we are saying on this platform are from the opinions of these experts. We are all licensed healthcare professionals. We are basing this off of our training and experience and our best knowledge and recommendations that we've seen based on our practice. So, but you should always double check with your healthcare professional, check with your doctor, check with your nurse practitioner before making a final decision. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. But I'll be honest, I am an advanced practice nurse. I work in the emergency room, ER. I do critical care transport. I've transported patients who have COVID-19 to higher levels of care because they've needed ECMO and all of these other things, severe respiratory failure and all these things. And it's scary. And so and as a parent, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, should I vaccinate? Should I let my kids have this vaccine? Should I not? Because it's one thing if it's me, I'll deal with the decision I make for myself. But if I vaccinate my children and we later find out that, heaven forbid, that this causes sterilization or this causes this, because we don't know.
Because we don't know.
So, as a parent, what can you tell me as a parent if I'm having those thoughts, Dr. Stacy?
Well, first, I want to validate those thoughts.
Okay.
As a parent, just as another individual, pandemic, I too have concerns about a COVID-19 vaccine being rushed. There's a reason why vaccines typically take a long time to develop. So I certainly understand the caution there. I think one of the best things that we can do goes back to something that we talked about a little bit earlier, right? And making sure that your kids, they're still going for their preventative visits. And so I think that for the vaccinations that we have, the ones that have been tested, that are tried and true, it's still important for your kids to get those vaccinations, right? Because we don't want them to get preventable illnesses. But also, I think that this pandemic calls to mind something that's really, really important, because prior to COVID-19, there are people that are anti-vaxxers or that just, they feel really uneasy about vaccinations. And so now that we're in a pandemic, I think that it sort of highlights the reason why vaccines are invented in the first place, because we have these diseases that are devastating, and we try to figure out a way to make them less devastating or to eradicate them altogether. And so that's how vaccines are born. That's why people don't just, sit in the lab just for giggles and kicks, but it's for the public health. It's for the greater good. For instance, in my grandparents' generation, there were a lot of crippled kids, so to speak. And that's because polio was a thing. Now, I have not seen someone with polio, but I know that in some countries, it still happens, not necessarily the US, but it still happens. And so we're actually quite fortunate to have the vaccinations that we do have. And so I think that it's important to take your kids to their doctor so they can get the vaccines that we know work.
Yes.
So Nurse Alice, can I add just a second? So I did create for my patients, I'm always very concerned about coronavirus, cold and flu season period, and about them being very protective of themselves and their families. So I created an 8-page document. It's actually on my website. It's free if you guys want it. You just go to drsammnd.com. And it's right there and it's free. And it talks about all of my tips that I give for my patients that is all natural. It talks about the supplements that I would give out. It talks about hydrotherapy, which is water therapy, alternating hot and cold. It talks about the wet sock treatment, several different things that I use during cold and flu season to boost your immune system, which is what we're really talking about. We have to boost your immune system to put that coat of armor on us to be ready for when this next wave that I think will probably comes, right? So it's drsammnd.com if you want to get the 8-page document.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to stay healthy at home. And, some people just don't know how to act. Like when they opened up the economy a little bit, people flooded into certain areas and we have these massive outbreaks. So we want to make sure that you guys, that you're informed. We have some great experts here providing us some great information, some tools and tips so you can, boost your own immune system. Because that's really what the whole premise of this show is, to help inform you so you can, be better informed and empowered to make health decisions. And I just want to share, ladies, that Cassandra Chapman-Talmadge said, this information is so critical. I wish you were televised. Yay. We wish we were too. Patients need to hear your voices. So many challenges. Hoping I could share posts for our PTA. Please share this to your PTA. I mean, this would be, and this is what we're here for, because we want people to have, information so they can ask the questions they need to ask. Because part of it also, and just I won't, don't want to overlook this. You'll notice that everyone on your screen, we're lovely shades of brown, melanin, native, black girl magic happening.
Yes.
In other areas, depending on where you're from and where you live, there are some people, because of the color of their skin, do not have access to quality health care, are treated differently, get substandard care, are either uninsured or underinsured, and therefore don't have access to information like this.
Correct.
So we want to help, we want to talk to y'all as people before you become our patients.
And we're happy for the platform to do it. And we're happy to share it because we want you all to have this information.
Exactly. Also, Katrina Flynn here has a comment. She said, our pediatrician told us that he believes kids will be among the last population to receive the COVID vaccine. That medically vulnerable people and healthcare workers may be among the first to receive it. He said flu shots are still important for everyone, including kids. Yes, you ladies agree with that?
More than likely.
Well,
I do think that flu shots are still important. As far as how the vaccine is going to be rolled out, we'll see what happens. To be determined.
Right. Well, I definitely have heard that frontline healthcare workers are going to be the first for it to be available to. And I am a proponent of vaccines. I do, like the ladies here, agree that there's definitely certain disease processes where that can be very deadly. So if we have vaccines to prevent these things from happening to our kids, there's science behind it that says that there are more the benefits definitely outweigh any type of cons that exist. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't know about Mr. Warp Speed and this vaccine. Yes, and I have been dealing with COVID ever since the beginning of this, and fortunately, knock on wood, I've not been exposed, any of those things. But I'm just gonna say I have my reservations. Does it mean that I'm not gonna get it? I can't say that absolutely, but I'm just saying I need more information. It's okay to want more information before you make a healthcare decision. You absolutely should. Go for a second opinion. Go for a third opinion on things if you're not sure. But you should feel confident that when you're making a healthcare decision that you've made it with all of the options laid out in front of you. Michael Pasio said, no vaccine for me. Bill Gates is behind it. Okay. So anyways, so you guys, this has been a lovely conversation. Again, we just began to scratch the surface. We can talk about this all night. These are like my sisters.
We really could.
And again, Black Girl Magic. And I think I think representation is important. I think it's so important. You guys share this with your kids, young adults, because I also think it's very important for people to see Black female doctors, Black female nurses, so they can aspire to become these, because definitely we need more healthcare professionals, because we need our healthcare system to be reflective of the patients that we treat. Absolutely. That will help hopefully tackle some of this health disparities, healthcare racial disparities that we are seeing. It does exist. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me started because we're supposed to be rapping. But share this with your peeps. Let's see, Ziamara McAllister. I think Dr. Samm did put her website in the chat box for her resources, and I also think Dr. Stacy also has some wonderful services that she has as well. So let's as we're wrapping, I'd love to have these ladies tell a little bit about their services, how you can connect with them, and answer, so you can connect with them to ask more questions after this broadcast. So Dr. Stacy, can you tell us a little bit more about your products and your services?
Absolutely. So I wholeheartedly believe that it takes a village to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
You can't give what you don't have. And so that's where your village comes in, right?
Yes.
So what I've done is I've created Cary Cares Parenting, where essentially I will walk on your parenting journey with you. I think that it's really important to give parents the opportunity to have someone that is in their village, but is not biased. Because here's the thing that tends to happen. People that know you personally, naturally they have bias, right? And biases are blinders. But I won't have that connection. So people, they can invite me in, but it's going to be my job to see those blind spots for you. And essentially what Cary Cares Parenting is about is walking through situations, both ordinary and extraordinary, with parents. So sometimes it could be having difficult conversations with your children. Sometimes it could just be a parent that doesn't necessarily have a problem that they identified, but they really just want to open themselves up to new perspectives. So it really, really runs the gamut. But in terms of the services I offer, I do have a 7-week coaching program where we go through a framework that I created, but it's very much adaptable to your specific needs as well. For those people that maybe don't necessarily want to make that type of commitment, I also offer one-on-one sessions, just 30-minute consulting sessions where you can pretty much pick my brain. You can ask me what you want, with a few caveats, but you can ask me questions and I'll give you my professional opinion. And so the main thing with Cary Cares is that whether you choose to do the coaching or the pick your brain session, it's about getting to the heart of things that are often sort of not given a lot of time in your traditional visits, right? So it's not about the medical, physical stuff. So don't ask me about sore throats. Don't ask me about immunizations. Don't ask me about rashes. Don't ask me about prescriptions. It's not the space for that. But instead, it's more so to address the social determinants of health, because that usually doesn't get the attention that it deserves. And so I definitely want to meet that need because I spend a lot of time talking to parents. So again, it's just a COVID-friendly offering. And it's a way for, me to be connected with people that aren't necessarily people that I would normally be able to serve.
Okay, wonderful. And where can they go to sign up, Dr. Stacy, and where can they follow you on social media?
So you can follow me on all social media at Dr. Stacy MD. That's DrStacyMD. Mm-hmm. And you can also email me at info@drstacymd.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions about Cary Cares Parenting. And you can also find information on my social media.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Stacy. You guys make sure to check out Dr. Stacy's website. Follow her on social media. Tons of great information. And parents, listen here. Don't sit there complaining that you need help. Ain't got no help. You heard what Dr. Stacy said. Boom. There it is.
I'm here.
Okay. Dr. Samm. So tell us about what you got going on. You got some things going on.
I have something really exciting to share with you guys. So this is blackdoctor.org. So I'm super excited to share it here. As you guys know, I put together wellness retreats where we actually go international to the beach, all-inclusive resorts, and we go hang out and we talk about things that are really going to inspire you to get on track to transform your illness into wellness. Well, here we are with COVID, right? So we are transforming it and pivoting into a virtual retreat. The virtual retreat will happen on September the 19th. We have 14 amazing Black physicians that are all going to pour into you guys. And the whole theme is around detox because I felt like, COVID has this funk on us that we just need to shed, right? So we're going to shed that COVID funk off. And it's all about natural ways. So I am a naturopathic physician, which is an expert in natural medicine. So the way in which I curate this event is I pull in all these experts that can give us the information that we need. They're experts in their field. So we're going to talk about the attitude of gratitude, because complaining is a toxin, you guys. And I want us to really understand that. We're going to talk about feng shui and the way in which you change the energy in your room, right? We're going to do sound bowl therapy. I want you guys to be able to experience different things. We're going to be able to experience qigong, yoga. We're going to talk about acupuncture for stress. We're going to talk about tapping, which is emotional freedom technique. We're actually going to go through that. We're going to have a guided hypnotherapy session. We're going to talk about hormones for your health. There are so many topics that we're going to talk about. I'm super excited about it. You guys are welcome to register. I'm going to put the link in the chat right now. So the link should be in the chat. It's www.vitalvirtual.events. All Black physicians. We have one male physician, but all the rest are Black female physicians. So I hope you guys registered. We want to help.
Wonderful.
And you can follow me on all social media at Dr. Samm ND.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you check out Vital Virtual Events so you can sign up for Dr. Samm's virtual retreat. Sounds like some amazing stuff. And I'll just say this, let's open our mind. Let's be a little more open-minded. Some of us might be like, oh, I don't know what that is. You don't do that. These are, that's for these people, not listen. Let's open our minds, because apparently what we've been doing has not been working. So we got to try something different. So let's be open-minded and try these things. I think they'll be great. And anything that you can do naturally to help improve your health, I'm all about it. I want to live. I don't know about y'all. I want to live.
Me too.
Be able to tell some grandbabies. Not now, but some grandbabies later down the road. So guys, this has been amazing. I loved it. We had Dr. Samm, our naturopathic physician. We have Dr. Stacy, our pediatrician. All of this to talk about how we can stay healthy while at home. And we talked about everything from physically, like posture, how we should sit, not sit, screen, eyes, how to protect our eyes, try to offset some of that obesity, manage stress, naturally promote and boost our immune system. Guys, so this has been a great conversation starter. There's so much more. And as weeks come and you guys continue to come and check out the Examiner with Nurse Alice, we're going to tackle more and more topics. I'm going to bring you some of the greatest and best experts across the nation, and also bringing some other celebrity friends that are coming to the show. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you to blackdoctor.org for allowing us to host this every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please continue to write, comment, slide into the DMs. Let us know what you want to talk about. Do a watch party, share the post. We're really here to help one another. And you guys, this is the time if ever there was a time for us to come together, this is the time for us to come together. It does take a village to raise a kid. For me, let alone. So let's support each other in our journeys, provide each other knowledge, keep each other lifted and uplifted in our journey, because many of us have not been through a world pandemic. And so we're learning as we go, but we got this. So if you have any other questions, please make sure to put them in the chat box. We'll get to them afterwards. Please follow our amazing guests, and you can follow me, Nurse Alice, at asknursealice.com. I'm on all social media platforms at Ask Nurse Alice, and you can also check out this show will be on the Facebook Live. It'll also live on YouTube on my YouTube page at youtube.com/Ask Nurse Alice. And guys, until next time, be kind to one another, make good choices, wash your hands, wear your masks, and live well, my friends. Bye.
Bye.